Welcome to another episode of Breaking Bank. I'm your host, Jack McKeag, and it is sponsored by Liberty Aid, libertyaid.org. Um, Thanks for joining. This is a video about Bitcoin. I thought I'd speak to it because I see so many people getting involved in it. So, first, signs and symbols are the things that rule their world, the ones who run the money system. So, what is the symbol of Bitcoin? It will tell you all you need to know about it. We'll do a further analysis, but the logo is always trying to tell you, you know, hey, this is what this thing is. Okay, so what is the logo of Bitcoin? Bitcoin would want you to think it's a B, right? Okay, it's not. It's a 3 over an 11. If you look at it that way, it could be that, you see? And they're clever with their art. So 3 over 11 is their way of saying 3 times 11, which is 33, which is what they call Satan, the devil. It's who they worship. So they with the name of Bitcoin, they're showing which god is behind it and who they worship. So now, okay, that tells you about Bitcoin. Now I'll use an example to prove that and what's going on with it, and then I'll go into what you should know about Bitcoin, what to use it for, what not to use it for, and so on. Okay. So let's go back. You can Google this, of course. There used to be an exchange for Bitcoin. There used to be many exchanges for Bitcoin, okay, like there are now. But there used to be one main exchange called Mt. Gox, Gox. And then a few years ago, it got hacked, they said. And then it got shut down, and it I think it was running something like 90% of all bitcoins exchanged in other currencies. So they were doing almost all of the Bitcoin transactions were coming through though. So then you got to think, okay, so that's 90% of, well, there's a certain percentage, but let's say some of that 90%, most of it, must have, quote, disappeared, right? We got hacked, quote. Hacks are fake, okay? Where does this money come from, all right? And we just removed, see, that it's very clever. Like, you don't have to, the work I do with showing debt is fake because I don't have the paperwork. Well, with Bitcoin, you don't have any paperwork. We got hacked, They just have planned hacks where they just suck out most of the wealth out of the system, and it just, quote, disappears, you know what I mean? And they just keep slicing off the money like that. It's so obvious. I mean, think it through even a little bit, right? So, okay, so that's what happened with Mt. Gox. Go research that. I remember when that happened, I was like, okay, this is squarely this whole thing, right? Okay. So, let's do a further analysis now of, okay, it exists, you can watch that show, Mr. Robot. It's on Netflix and whatever, other rip places. And it's about the introduction of eCoin, which is, a story about Bitcoin and so on. Coming, they get the hive ready for what's to come with foreshadowing. So, they're trying to say how Bitcoin's gonna, save everything because the hackers are gonna knock down the current financial system. And then this hack proof money that got hacked in Mt. Gox, right? And the like are gonna become, the new electronic currency because we're so digital, y'all. Anyway, it's a good scam. People are going for it. Why are they going for it? Because they're saying it's going up in value. You know, it's not an asset. don't think of Bitcoin as an asset. You're misunderstanding what it is. It's a method to transact. You know, if you treat it in any other way besides a method to transact, you're gambling. You know, at the devil's 33 table. You just need to know that, and it's already predetermined exactly how they're going to run this thing and when they're going to do another Mount Gox and another 100 Mount Goxes or whatever. You see, that's already it's just a game to them. You don't want to get caught up in their game. So okay, you gamblers out there, you think you know what's up? Get into that 33 money, whatever. I mean, it's got to get hacked in some way in the future. You know, like they're already extending credit off of Bitcoin. So, you know, they're just going to switch the currency to full electronic, no paperwork, no signatures, no nothing, and they'll just control it all from the back end with, we fix the hackers. I mean, who made Bitcoin? Who? It's just fake. The government, they're the only ones that have the control to put it out there and control it as it goes. I mean, it's governments are a hoax. So this is just, this is one world money, and it will govern you in a way that they just pull the strings of the back end of the money. It's just a joke. Okay, so that's a little bit about Bitcoin, what it is, the obviousness of what's coming, their telegraphing of it in mass media. Now, what should you use it for? What should we know about it? I mean, I think it's a good idea to know what's coming up in Bitcoin. They're gonna use it or something very similar, but this is long running. They put a lot of marketing into it and so on. I mean, I think obviously the difficulty right now is it's not super usable like dollars. There's no debit and credit cards. It's not super easy like that. But what's going to happen is there have been some of those technological advances. They just haven't introduced them in a wide way because they haven't decided the timing is right yet. Do you see? They have it ready to roll out. They have that technology. It's just not out there right now. So it's difficult for the just anyone consumer to use it. Places like they don't take it at Walmart yet, and so on. So I say, get into it, learn how to transact in it, understand the technology. If you're into, getting ready for the big switch that's obviously coming, nothing wrong with in your spare time to, get into this hobby money to understand, what it is. Okay, but it's strictly gambling right now. If you're holding any of that right now, your gambling is going to go up rather than down. So there are a million ways to say, hey, here's a strategy of what to do with Bitcoin and consider it as an asset or what, hold it, whatever. But I mean, it's going to go up in value, obviously, over the long run. That's what's going to happen. And then it's going to, think of it like it's not going to change how many numbers of them there are, kind of, although behind the scenes, obviously, they constrict and expand the supply of Bitcoin. That's how they create its value, because they do that. So it's clever. It's not that difficult to see what's going on. You have to be able to see it. It's simple. It's observable in their actions and their patterns, their logo, everything. Okay, so what should you use it for? Let's get to that. Really just transactions. That's why I say you could learn how to use Bitcoin and transact with it. It's going to be useful anywhere in any country, so you don't have to switch currency and so on. So they're gonna crash a part of the financial dollar tied system at some point, and then this kind of they'll do it in not one giant one, but like this part of the area, right, where we find ourselves, this country or whatever, this area, this continent, this they'll have an event, financial thing, it'll kind of make it happen there, and there'll be a big push for it. Technology will, quote, advance then for it. And so it'll be like kind of like big leaps like that, and then of course it'll push at one point. And countries will be like, we're losing control. It'll be a big fake battle about the whole thing at some point, which will be fake. It'll just be like, let's introduce this because electronics are easier and we got computers and we don't have to pile up all them pieces of paper and fake debt and whatnot. We'll just do it all electronic and fake it from all the way behind the scenes with giant hacks and so on. Just huge gatherings of a mountain of the wealth at one time, like with Mount Gox. Maybe they'll have other little ones like they do, and basically, if you think about it, issues in quote world events, and which are all a hoax, they're all created. They don't happen, war doesn't happen, and so on. So they create the concept of crises, sorry, but the crises don't happen. So what are they doing with that? They're controlling the stock market, they're controlling Bitcoin value and so on with their narrative that they put out in mass media. Oh, hey, this thing happened, and so they constrict the supply, Oh, they hacked Mt. Gox, you know what I mean? All that's gone. Shoo, the thing spikes up or down, everybody's like, I'm scared of Bitcoin now, I'm gonna sell that, yeah. That like a fear event about Bitcoin, the price drops, and then they're like, oh, hey, Venezuela's money shutting down, and India has, can't use those old 100 rupee notes. You gotta use these new ones with the RFID by law, and they don't put many of them out, so people are kind of forced to transact somehow, and they get into Bitcoin some. You see they're kind of forced to. Different countries do this constriction, that constricting, and see it's a web, and it kind of pushes out the Bitcoin. So you can see that it will have increased value over time. As today increased value, I don't know. So it's flying high from where it was, but that's not what I'm saying. I mean, step back, see it for what it is. It's a method to transact in. Okay, assets are going to be, unusual things in the future. They're gonna be like assets. True assets are gonna be thought of as revenue streams that are well above the expense streams. Like that's an asset that's happening ongoing. So that's better than like a house, which costs money to keep. So just reframe your mind on where they're going with quote value and money and so on, and just felt like people needed an overview to understand about Bitcoin, and then with this overview they can see, oh, okay, this makes sense to get into it this way or transact in this way because this is my type of business. I'm a early adopter of technology and I want to be ready for this thing. There are many reasons to get into it. I live in this place, India or whatever, and the money is constricted, and I do a lot of transactions, whatever. There can be many reasons, as it's said in different locations, to go forward into this. But go forward with the knowledge of what it is. Okay, another in God we trust, lying currency way to create slaves out of humanity, money. It is not anything but that. It is not a salvation. It is a complete hoax and a lie to enslave us all. It says it on the logo. It says it on how they run it. It says it in every way possible if you look into it. Okay. So, a little video about reality and money. I haven't seen anyone really address this directly. Okay. So, get into Bitcoin, don't get into Bitcoin, know what you're up against, alright? And God bless your success. If you have any questions, we're still doing Q&As anytime. We're on liberty8.org, and You can write your question about our work there to contact@libertyaid.org, and if it's a good one, and a lot of people ask it, and that happens a lot, we do a Q&A here, and we really appreciate that. I, I want to serve you, get, you know, you through the steps of this process, and so I want to hear what the issues are and put it out, you know, because other people are having those issues. I'm kind of far down the road, so I don't know what your particular issues are, but I'd love to address them and help you get further along in this process. Okay. All right. God bless your success. Thank you.